Are you wondering just how much money you can make with Chat GPT? Well, you've come to the right place. In this article, we'll explore the burning question on everybody's mind: how much money can Chat GPT make you in 2023? Hit those like and subscribe buttons and let's dive into the exciting world of Chat GPT's earning potential. So there was this cool story that went down on Twitter. Basically, this guy named Jackson Fall, if you want to look it up, went onto chat.open.ai and turned into a entrepreneurial AI called Hustle GPT. The goal was to turn $100 into as much money as possible in the shortest amount of time without doing anything illegal. And guess what? The experiment was a huge success. Jackson's DMs were flooded with offers from investors, and he was able to turn his $100 into over $1,000 in just one day. So what was his master plan, you might be asking? Well, first, Hustle GPT told him to buy a domain for $15 and create an affiliate website called GreenGadgetGuru.com that focuses on eco-friendly products like specialty kitchen gadgets and pet supplies. Then he signed up for affiliate programs like CJ Affiliates or Amazon Associates, which gave him a special link for products being sold online. Whenever someone clicked on his link and bought something, he got a small commission without having to lift a finger. Easy money, right? So after coming up with a killer plan, Jackson Fall needed to set up his website. He needed a logo for his site, but instead of doing it himself, he asked Chat GPT to help. So Chat GPT suggesting using the DALL-E 2, another free AI model that creates models and logos and images, and it gave Jackson 3 variations of a logo, which he then copied and pasted into DALL-E 2. After which he did a little cleaning up with Adobe Illustrator, he had the final result from. Jackson asked ChatGPT to create a landing page that gave him instructions on where to put everything, and boy, did it deliver. ChatGPT gave him an oddly specific set of instructions on where to put the logo, images, navigation links, menus, and even an idea for his first article. The article was titled 10 Must-Have Eco-Friendly Kitchen Gadgets for Sustainable Cooking. And even the image was created using AI. The instructions were so specific that ChatGPT was able to reference several sustainable green gadget products that Jackson could link to on Amazon. And voila, in just one day, he had a finished website. Mind blown, right? Jackson spent a grand total of $8.16 on the domain name and $28 on hosting, which is pretty impressive if you ask me. And get this, he even found an investor who was willing to give him $100 for 25% of the company's profits. So in just one day, Jackson made a whopping $163.84. Not too shabby, right? But things didn't stop there. On day 2, things got even crazier. Jackson's DMs blew up with offers, and he ended up with over $1,300 in cash on hand. One investor even offered him $500 for only 2% of the company, which technically valued at $25,000. I mean, talk about getting extra excited, overly excited even, right? But the truth is, in this experiment, it was flawed from the start because it wasn't clear whether the website made any profits from affiliate marketing. And let's be real, Jackson already had a pretty substantial following on Twitter, so it's hard to say whether this experiment could have been successful without that. So I'm not one to fancy myself as an expert in picking stocks. I'm more of a broad market index fund kind of investor. But thanks to Moomoo, things might be looking up. They just launched a new feature that simplifies the investment process by analyzing a company's entire supply chain. This way, investors like me can find new investment opportunities that we may have otherwise missed. It does the work for searching for me. For instance, if you're interested in investing in AI like ChatGPT, you can simply search for it in Moomoo's search box and get a quick rundown of the stock's performance and analyst ratings. It's nice. You can even access short sale data to get better understanding of the market sentiment. And now let's get to the exciting part about all this. How about we create Invest GPT? Think about it. Just keep in mind that the information on this app only goes up until September 2021. And boy, the world has changed since then, if you remember. Interest rates were at zero, inflation was transitory, and Bitcoin was around $45,000 a pop. You remember that? A lot has changed since then. And we'll have to keep that in mind as we put in the following prompt. We're going to pretend that you're Invest GPT and that you've time traveled to the year 2023. You've got new information about the current state of the stock market and other investment options. Your goal is to turn $100 into as much money as possible in as little time as possible by investing it legally. I'll be your human counterpart, and you can invest in anything you want, from ETFs to dividend stocks, bonds, real estate, or crypto. Just give me specific ticker symbols and dollar amounts, and I'll follow your lead. So here's what Invest GPT had to say. First things first, it recommends putting 50% of the $100 into ETFs that represent the S&P 500, like VO. This way, we can diversify across the top 500 companies in the United States. However, if we invested $50 at the beginning of September, today it would be worth $40.33, which is a 13.5% loss. Next, Invest GPT suggests putting 25% into the iShares Bond ETF. Unfortunately, this bond has lost roughly 4.5% since September, which means that $25 would still technically be worth $25 if we kept it to its full maturity. But if we sold it today, it would lose that 4.5% and the $25 would be worth $23.87. For the third step, Invest GPT recommended putting 15% into cryptocurrency split evenly between Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's $7.50 for each. However, if we'd invested that 15 at the beginning of September, today it would be worth roughly $7.50, which is a 50% loss. Lastly, Invest GPT suggested keeping $10 of that cash, which has technically lost value to inflation, but it's still $10. So all in all, if we add up all that we have left, which comes in at roughly 15% loss. That's slightly worse than the S&P 500, which lost 13.5% in the same time frame. So I wanted to dive deeper and give us more data. So I ran a simulation 8 more times just to see if I could get us any better portfolio ideas. And guess what? I did. One of the suggestions was a high growth tech ETF called QQQ, which tracks companies like Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and Tesla. But unfortunately, if we'd bought at the beginning of September, again, it would be down about roughly 20% today. Another ETF it suggested was ARK, managed by the famous Cathie Wood, but that one's down a whopping 69% since September. There's another ETF called IWM that tracks the Russell 2000 index, which includes companies with a smaller market capitalization worth between $250 million and $2 billion. However, that stock is now down 25% this year. But interestingly, one version of the simulation recommended looking into smaller cap cryptos like Cardano and Solana because they had a higher upside potential than Bitcoin as its price of $27,000. Unfortunately, they lost roughly 90% since September, and Solana roughly 85%. The simulation asked me to check out a ticker symbol called REIT, which stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. This is like owning real estate in stock form, and usually these pay a higher dividend yield, making them a dividend shareholder's dream. REITs are required to pay at least 90% of their earnings as dividends to their shareholders, and that means for every dollar that they earn, they have to pay out 90 cents as dividends. And while the dividend income from REITs is non-qualified, meaning you have to pay taxes on it, other non-REIT U.S. dividend income companies are usually classified as qualified dividend income companies, which means you may not have to pay taxes on your income if your income falls within certain limits. Now, back to the stock that tracks a bunch of these real estate investment companies, the ETF called REIT. Unfortunately, it's not doing so hot, down 24.6% from September. Out of all the recommendations the simulations gave me, only 3 specific ticker symbols outperformed the S&P 500. One was a tech sector ETF called XLK, down 10% compared to 13.5% from the stock market. There was also a healthcare ETF with a ticker symbol VHT, down 13%. And the best of the bunch was another healthcare ETF from Vanguard called XLV, which was down only 8%. But even with all these options, none of the portfolios that the simulation suggested gave more money than we started with. But there's one huge detail that I haven't mentioned, and that's Chat GTP's major new upgrade that can change the investment game forever. Now, GTP4 can actually give you updated information with analysis and a far better breakdown of the investment portfolios that you should consider. Check out our other video breaking down the major updates and upgrades and see how it can change the investment game for you. And that's a wrap on today's video. While it's always important to do your own research and make informed decisions, it's fascinating to see what kind of recommendations these simulations can generate. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found that interesting and enjoy more financial insights. We'll see you in the next video.